Good morning, YouTube. It is Saturday, finally. I had to get up extra early today so I could wake up before the family and start the next project. But P.S., look at my view. Well, it's not really a view right now, but I just love the fog over the mountains early in the morning here. But anyways, in today's video, we are going to be installing a new gauge cluster. I have been super excited about this. My original speedometer just kind of stopped working all of a sudden, so I don't exactly know how fast I've been going. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having all the new gauges in here, so let's get started. Well, my new gauge cluster finally arrived. I don't know what it is with Summit, but I have been getting everything else so much faster. But Summit stuff has taken weeks longer than other places, so I don't know. But I'm excited that I got my new gauge cluster, so I'm gonna open that and start getting the gauges in. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I feel absolutely ridiculous though spending $225 on this. This is plastic. I wish I could have made this myself. Hi, Eddie. We're out here in the garage hanging out. If you're a dad, you know you have minimal time to work on stuff. But yeah, so here's Eddie. $225. I've seen him go for $250 plus shipping. So that sucks, but that's what you gotta do. All right, speaking of what I gotta do, I gotta be a dad right now.
Hi.
Hi. All right, more to come. Sorry about the noise, guys, but I'm here in my workshop putting everything together. Finally got in all of my gauges. I just wired everything up, which I know looks kind of crazy, but it's very basic. It's grounds. So all the black are grounds. So all the lights, the meters, they need grounds. And what I just did is jumper off this one to go to this one, then jumper off this one, and it actually comes over to this. I could have probably done this a little bit better, but basically you're just jumpering. I haven't finished this one yet because this gauge just arrived, but you're just grounding everything. That's first and foremost, including the turn signals and the high beam indicator right there. With the speedometer and the tachometer, you just have to take out the little plug, pull these things out, and they're right here. I guess I'll cover the wiring just a little bit more. I use white for all of my lights that require dimming. These are all going to be connected together, and these are all going to be connected to the dimmer switch, so I'll be able to dim those. It even comes down here into the tach and the speedometer. The yellow wire is for switched ignition. Goes in here first, then jumpers over to that one, then jumpers over to this one, then jumpers over here, then here, and then here. Pretty straightforward, all pretty normal stuff. If you're working on a car, this is probably the most basic of 12-volt stuff you could be doing. And I'm gonna wrap it with tape and clean it up a little bit more. But what I'm doing right now is I just got these new LED light bulbs. Got these on Amazon. There's gonna be links in the description for all of these parts if you want to do this. So I have these new LED light bulbs, and unfortunately, I'm just going to try to do this with one hand, they are slightly smaller than the incandescent version. So right there, when you put this cover on here, I'm using green, you could use the red ones that are in there, it just falls off. So yeah, they're not going to stay in there. They're going to end up falling into the meter, which nobody wants. So what I'm doing is I'm putting them on, and I'm just putting a tiny little dab of super glue right there just to hold this on. I could easily rip this off and replace the light bulb or this green piece if I need to, but that's what I'm doing right now, getting all the light bulbs in. Also, if you do this, again, there are links in the description, but you will need these special plugs. So I purchased these lighting adapters, and they fit perfectly, but they don't stay. There's not enough friction to keep it in there. So I'm taking just some black duct tape and wrapping it around there to keep it in. So you'll have to do that. All in all, dude, this is seriously still one of the easiest jobs. Oh, and I'll have links in the description for this as well. This is just a basic harness that I bought online so I can connect everything to this. And then on the car side, I'll have another harness, and that way I'll be able to still remove this if I ever need to work on something or change a gauge. All right, that's it for now. I'm gonna put everything back together and try to get this in my car now so I can take it a drive. So I've got this guy all wired up, except for I forgot the sending wire for the water temperature, oil temperature, and fuel. So that kind of sucks. I'll just have to take this back inside. Luckily, I do have 3 more pins in this harness that I purchased. But for now, I am wiring up the car and getting this harness connected to the car. And I am actually going to be cutting some of the wires, like for the turn signal, the headlight, the high beam indicator. And if I'm cutting those, I might as well cut them all, but I'll show it to you guys before I'm done. It's hard to show you this with one hand, but what I'm doing here with these extra 2 lights, I tapped 1 light for the instrument cluster lights. I think that was this wire right here. So that's going to go to the instrument cluster to power all of the lights. But that leaves me with these 2 extra light bulbs. I don't want them just flopping around inside the dash. So I just pulled it back and wrapped the tip with electrical tape. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Pull this out. See if I can do it one-handed. Yep. So just pull that out, twist it and pull it out, and then out comes the centerpiece. And this is going to be 12 volts when the lights are on. So maybe you can use it down the road if you want to add some lights or do something when the lights are on. But for now, I don't want this touching ground by mistake. So I'm going to pull that out, wrap this with electrical tape, just like I did the other one, and then I'm going to zip tie it up in here somewhere and tuck it away. So I've got those tucked up there. The car does have these little bendy tabs. You can tuck wires up in there. This is the old speedometer cable that I won't be using because I'm going to be GPS with this new one. I'm losing daylight really quick, unfortunately, but I'm also not going to need the wires for the amp gauge either. So I just wrapped the end with electrical tape, and I'm going to also tuck that right up here. So now those are tucked up out of the way. Getting there, almost done. All right, most of my wires are connected. I just had to see what it was going to look like. I love that green. It is not super bright. I don't really like bright lights in my face at night. One downside though is that it doesn't dim. It just turns on with the headlights, but with these LED lights that I purchased, they don't dim, they just are either on or off. But I think they are low enough that I don't think it's going to be a problem. And you might notice this one isn't green. It's because I ran out of green caps. I ordered some that are going to be here tomorrow. So that'll be connected in green tomorrow. But all right, well, that's good. I did all the correct wiring there, and I'm sorry I'm not going over in explicit detail with every single wire and every connection, but honestly, you should be able to figure that part out. Like, I really feel like that's the easiest part. Maybe it's because I have the most experience with it, but if you do need more details, just let me know in the comments below, and maybe I can make a different video or a better video or share a schematic or something. But I'm glad to see that's working, so now I have to disconnect this, take this back to the workbench, and connect all of the signal wires for those 3 gauges. And here is a first look at night. Man, I love it. It's gonna look great once I get that green too. But even that white really does not look bad at all. It looks brighter in the camera than it does in real life. I really like the green. It matches the green button. The green button is actually brighter than the lights here, but it's almost a perfect match to the green radio here. Actually, wow, the water is way off. That sucks. I'll have to figure that out. Volts looks low, almost like maybe I need an alternator, something with a little more power. Odometer has 2 miles on it. The tachometer signal wire isn't ran yet. Oil pressure is 100. Crap. I actually called AutoMeter and they told me that the senders that this car came with will work. That doesn't really look like they're working. Water and oil is pegged to the top. I'll have to look into that. The gas gauge I think is accurate because it was full and then I took a few trips. So that seems accurate with the sender that's still in the tank. The bottom of it is not screwed in yet. So it does have a little wiggle. It's just the top 2 screws, but I love it. So it's still not complete. Obviously got to work on some gauges. I don't have the GPS unit for the mile per hour. So really, none of them are working except for fuel and volts. Hey guys, so I got the gauges all installed, but they weren't working. The water temperature and oil temperature were just reading maxed. AutoMeter told me that the OEM sensors that were here in the car would work with their gauges, but they weren't. So I just replaced the water temperature gauge and it immediately started working. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing with the oil temperature next. I also ran the tach wire. I had to look it up because I really wasn't sure. It wasn't super clear online even, but I finally found that it's the negative terminal on the coil. So I'll show you guys that. Yeah, camera. Yeah, and Addie's out here helping me. It's a weekend, so it's time to get some things done. So right there is the new oil temperature sending unit. And the existing wire, this brown wire that's right there, that clips right onto the top, no problem. And then this yellow wire is the tach signal wire. And I just drilled a hole and used a grommet, and it's going through the firewall up there. And then right next to it is the replacement water temperature sensor. And these are the parts directly from AutoMeter. And yeah, now it's working with the correct senders, which makes sense, but I don't know why AutoMeter thought that the original ones would work. But yeah, so that's working. Now I can finish up the gauge install. And here they are. Yes, they are working. Aren't they, Addie? Yay. So tach is up. Oil temperature. I have to bump up the RPM. It's just a little bit low. Water temperature is going to be climbing. Voltage actually looks really good. Before it was pretty low, but it seems like it's better now. So I still have to get the GPS unit for this speedometer gauge. Unfortunately, I thought everything was included and it was not. So the speedometer GPS from AutoMeter is like $280. It's crazy, on top of what you just spent on this gauge. So I've bought a cheap Chinese one for only 40 bucks. It's just a GPS sending unit, so I'm going to give that a try. It's not here yet, but when it gets here. Another thing that I have to note is that those, let me just turn this off real quick, that all these LEDs that I got, they're actually polarized. So the polarity mattered. For the left turn signal there, and right here is the indicator for the high beam, and then here's the right turn signal there. All of those were wrong and they weren't working. I have a 50-50 chance with each one, and I got all of them wrong. So I took the light bulb out. I wasn't sure really what was going on, flipped them around, and they started working. But all the gauges, those are all working just fine. So I got all the lights for the gauges correct, but those 3 indicator lights I got wrong. All right, so guess that's it for now. Right, Eddie? Having fun playing with the light bulbs? Yeah? Good. All right, I'm just going to double check everything and then mount it. Hopefully the last time. Oh, wait. It's not going to be the last time because I bought a shift indicator that I'm going to put right here. So it will have to come apart again at some point. Well, unfortunately, it's been a few weeks since I filmed all of the rest of this video. I had to wait for the GPS unit to come in from China, and then I had to wait for the AutoMeter Pro shift system. I finally have all these in stock. I'm gonna install that here today. The GPS, they both look pretty easy, but the GPS is just a magnetic, like XM radio looking satellite antenna thing. I'm gonna put that on the dashboard and hope that works, because I really don't want to put it on the roof or on the paint. I have minimal time, so I'm gonna try to get this in here, get it tested, get it working quickly. All right, so here we are trying to hook up the GPS speedometer kit that I have here. This is a kit from China. This is not the AutoMeter kit that costs like $280 or something. This was 40 bucks. I'm hoping I can make it work. We'll see. Right now, I just removed this cover, just 2 screws, one here, slid the cover out of the way. And then I ran this GPS cable underneath this plastic piece. You can kind of see it. Comes right down where that vent is, comes through there. And I plan on screwing this back in and mounting the GPS module just right up here in the center. And hopefully that works, because I don't really want to run it outside. Let's cross our fingers, but let's continue on. I've got my control module right here. So they do sell some units that can adjust the PPM, which is pulses per mile. This one's just stuck at whatever it's at. I think I have it inside. I don't have the spec on me. But it looks like you can program the speedometer to work with different speed sensors. So I'm hoping that I can use this with the speed sensor input to this, and I can program it to work with this module. All right, I got the grill on. That little magnet mount antenna sticks to that just fine. I've got this antenna wire all coiled up, and it goes into my box. And then these are the wires I have to connect here for power and ground and signal and all that stuff. So now we're going to work on that. So I'm going to make my connections using my normal method, which is me poking the wire in half right there, and I'm going to be sticking the wire right through the center. There you can see it. I've been using this method for decades and it doesn't fail. Of course, you can always solder it, and solder is always better, but this is just what I do. I've been a car audio professional for a long time, and this works. And I'm just using the wires that I ran for my gauges that I have right here. So I'm going to be tapping the wires right here. I don't like those crimp T-tap connectors because those can compromise the wire. I definitely would not recommend using those because when you pinch them together, they can cut the strands of wire. They're really just not that good. But I'm going by this diagram here. Oh, calibration buttons inside. Oh, this one does have the calibration screws. Okay, that could be cool. We'll see how that goes when I get ready to test it. But yeah, let's get it wired up first. So I'm going to be wiring it up according to this diagram. I don't feel like I would need the tach wire, so I'm going to leave that off for now and see what happens. Well, I have my gauges in. I got this little thing hanging out because I guess I can open it up and adjusts the pulses per mile, which is pretty cool. So I'm actually reading the instructions, and this could really work out. The default setting is 16,000 ppm, pulses per mile. The range that it could be set at is 16K to 32K. So this thing is pretty usable, but the most important part is that potentially the default setting of 16K ppm is exactly what I need for the AutoMeter speedometer, because the AutoMeter speedometer is set to work with a default of 16K ppm. That's what the AutoMeter version of this actually is set to. So the speedometer can be programmed to work with other ppm, but anyways, I might get really lucky. So that would be pretty cool if this unit is actually just happens to be set at exactly what the AutoMeter speedometer requires. So we're going to go for a drive. I have a GPS app for my phone that I'm going to put up here, and we'll see if this works. Cross my fingers, because God, that would be nice. I just love when things work. We'll find out here shortly. Wow, this is absolutely awesome. I opened this up so you can see it, and in case I needed to adjust anything, and I don't. Look at that. I am right about 19. Let me speed up a little bit, put it at 20, and look at it, we're doing 20. Oh my God, that's awesome. I don't need to adjust anything, and I just saved myself over $200, unfortunately, by buying something from China. But hey, I mean, that's a lot of money for this unit. I mean, $280, and I thought it was all included. So when I bought the speedometer, man, I forget at this point, it's been a few weeks, but I paid a lot of money, like a couple hundred, $250, something like that, and I thought that was all I needed. But no, then I needed to buy a GPS adapter. Like, oh my God. But it's working with a cheap Chinese unit. Yes, that is awesome. I've been driving around for a few minutes, and It is perfect. It's great. I am so excited. I just saved so much money. I know it sucks, and I'm sorry I bought something from China, but I just saved myself $200. So it's worth it. I really like it. Super excited. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope this helped you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.